But then our next session is about financing schemes that are perspectives for the cultural and creative industries. Finance, the role of finance. I don't know what to say about the role of finance. I don't want to be negative, but let me switch a bit my brain now. Finance has been, again, part, or I'll call it, it's the backbone of our economies. So how finance functioned for many years, it's on a normal distribution. So normal distribution means that the risks that we can see, or the part of the uncertainty that we can see, doesn't mean that we can see everything, we just can't see, can be measured via risk matrix. And then risk matrix also means data. And data also means whatever you would like to do, an idea as a concept in your business has to be tangible in terms of numbers. So it means that we have to have a single objective, which is, system says it's shareholder value creation. And then, of course, banks and insurance companies and all of these financial players, you know, they need to have tangible data to be able to finance businesses. So this is also interesting because it gives what I call certainty. I would say false perception of certainty, but I'm not going to debate this. Let's say certainty, and trying really to measure things that we can see from an idea point of view and so on. So today I'm very happy to have this set of speakers that we have selected to see what the financial industry can do to support the creative and cultural industries in the different countries. So I think there are several challenges in the Mediterranean countries, not only because of the public sector, which is not anymore, I would call, having enough resources to fund to subsidize certain sectors because of their own problems, macroeconomic problems. Some of those countries are over-indebted, and they are even going into certain restructuring discussions with international organizations. Of course, there are new forms of financing that are emerging, like, for example, the cryptocurrency market or the crowdfunding market or the fintech market. And all these are responding to a certain lag or gap in the financing in the region. So cultural creative industries, of course, they're having issues in that sense that they cannot really attract those sources of funding. So there is a need to have much more support from the public sector, also from the philanthropies and from other institutions to enhance access to finance, particularly when the companies are on the startup phases, very small, and then the ideas are not really very well connected into the economy. And when they are far too innovative and far too creative, nobody practically will look at it because nobody wants to take so much risk. When I call this the risk that is not known, not measured. So this is the difficulty in this type of sectors. So I would like to invite Albert Lorente to the stage here. We also have Jonàs Sala. I don't know who is here, who is online. So all online. So I only have Albert here. So please, Albert, have a seat close to me. We have a very nice selection of panelists today. Albert Lorente, his business strategy for experience and design industries at ACCIÓ, Catalonia. ACCIÓ Trade and Investment. ACCIÓ is a public entity, and you can explain a little bit more about what ACCIÓ is doing for Catalonia, particularly in the CCI. Also, we have the pleasure to have online Jasmine Busson. She's a managing partner and founder of Globivest in Lebanon. Thank you for being with us today. We have Jonàs Sala, he's a co-founder and partner of Verkami, crowdfunding consultant also in Spain. Maral Mikirditsian, deputy director at AFAC, which is the Arab Fund for Arts and Culture Lebanon. Sorry for pronouncing your name. Maybe you can help me pronounce your name better. Sorry for that. Michelle Mouracade, she's Impact Investment Fund Advisor, Alfanar Venture Philanthropy in Lebanon. We see many colleagues in Lebanon. I think the case of Lebanon is quite, I would say, unfortunate. What happened in the banking sector and the economic sector as a whole. So you can also tell us what is really the impact nowadays of institutions like yours to give the possibilities to CCIs to get funding in a situation where the system is not really functioning. And we as CREACT, we are suffering from this very much. And we can explain it later on. And my dear friend Nagla Bahr, Nagla, she's the managing director of Credit Guarantee Company in Egypt. And she's also the chairwoman of the Euro-Mediterranean Guarantee Network. So it's very important. We have discussed a lot with the Nagla on how to support the CCI via the guarantee schemes. And this is also something that can be done based on the sector or the system we have today. So I'll start directly with Albert. Albert, what do you do? How do you support the CCI in Catalonia? And then what is your recommendations on how to enhance financing to them?
Okay, hello, good morning, everyone. First of all, sorry, because after Hannah's speech, I will speak about public funding. So I'm sorry, because it's a little bit boring, but I have a presentation. I don't know if, right now, thank you. So first of all, thanks to the organization, Christine and Maria, for inviting me. I want to start maybe here. Next. No, okay. No, yeah, okay. So I want to start with a small presentation. This is a play you can experience here. It's a small theater. When you enter to this theater, you have to write in a piece of paper something you are thinking. Could be smart or stupid. It's doesn't matter. Then you introduce in a box, and these people, these actors and actors, take a piece of paper and improvise a small sketch, not a show. So you are part of this play of theater. Ballooning around Lagarroche is near Pyrenees, but it's a tourist experience. I strongly recommend you have some time here. It's a nice experience. This man, Ferran Adrià, is maybe the most brilliant mind in Catalonia, even in the world. Or cycling in the Pyrenees. All this, we consider that it's an experience, no? But what about if you can mix all of them? This is the most visited museum in Catalonia. I don't know if it's good or it's bad, but it's Football Club Barcelona Museum. It's a tour experience, and it's culture because it's a museum. It's a sport because Football Club Barcelona is a football club. It's creativity, and it's tourism because it's the majority of people is tourists who visit the museum. So this is for us, for ACCIÓ, for Catalonia Trade and Investment, experience industries. To try to say in other words, but this is culture and communication industries and creativity services, talent services, sports industries, and this mix we consider experience industries. So the aim today it's culture and creativity, but we add these stories, these sports. We introduce a small differentiation. It's that for us, communication, culture, tourism, and sports are B2C instead of creativity services. We consider B2B. It means creativity companies work for the rest of the sectors. So we now know what means experience industries for us. What about the ecosystem? We are 7.7 million people, GDP 200 25, 8 billion of exports in 2021, 1.5 million received for Horizon 2020, and about 20% of the GDP industrial. A dynamic economy of the Europe, best region for investment in Southern Europe according to the Financial Times. We can discuss this sentence if you want. So now more or less we situate the experience industries. What about Catalonia Trade and Investment? We are a public agency from the Generalitat de Catalunya, and basically we have 4 pillars to help Catalan companies to be more competitive: business strategy, international business, technological transformation and disruption, foreign investment, and something we can say cross, that it's our offices. We have 40 offices around the world. First of all, business strategy. In business strategy, we have different services, but I want to emphasize these 2 clusters: policy transformation and next generation EU office. Clusters policy transformation. We have grants and funds for companies which are a cluster member. So we try to help Catalan companies to be more competitive through clusters methodology or strategy. We have 26 clusters, official clusters in Catalonia. There are 4 or 5 more, but these 26 are in a program we have that it's Catalan clusters, 2,700 members, and it's more or less 30% of GDP of Catalonia. No? All these companies represent the 30% of GDP of Catalonia. 1 year ago, we started a new program. It's a next generation EU office to help Catalan companies to get these funds that in this case, ACCIÓ is the contact point. And here you can get all the funds from the UA for this program, Next Generation. Second pillar is technological transformation and disruption. This is about innovation, basically. First of all, we have a startup hub. Last decade, about 12 years ago, we started with this hub because entrepreneurship is it's growing. At least here in Catalonia, it's a big phenomenon. And we started with this program. We have here fund and grant program, Startup Capital, who helps Catalan companies in the age from 0 to 5 years. Then program 2, transformation and Catalan business community. Here, basically, we focus on digitisation and sustainability because it's 2 things that we consider the main objective for this decade. Here, from vouchers to start some innovation process until venture capital, corporate, different programs about innovation. We help companies to organize the project with grants, with funds, and we accompanying all this process of innovation. What time? Okay. Then tech transfer, research development and innovation, and European EN. These are also another services we give to companies to this process of innovation or technological transformation. International business. As I said, we have 40 offices around the world, and we help Catalan companies to export. From the beginning, start export with vouchers to contract an export manager, for example. Then internationalization support agencies, with our agencies for business alliance, commercial, delivery, different ways to find your contact point in a foreign country. And even consolidation and impact. When you are exporting and you need headquarters or office in a country, we help companies to find all these contact points, these services. Then also we have a Catalonia Trade Portal and eTrade that are two services to complete all this effort. And last but not least, foreign investment. This is like the opposite of the last. Is we try to attract foreign investment in Catalonia. We promotion Catalonia through our 40 offices around the world and attracting international projects. Then manage of these projects and we say aftercare, no? When companies are here, try to give all the facilities they need. This is our network. We have 40 offices, about 120 countries, because more of them, it's like a regional office. And our offices are open in the month of Catalan companies. I mean, if we have an office, but there aren't enough projects to give these services, we can close an office and then open another office. The offices started in late 80s, so we are more of them are reconsolidated. And we try to help with these 3-4 pillars, no? Business, international business strategy, innovation, and foreign investment. And that's all. Here could be thank you, but I don't know why it's not. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Albert. This is very interesting. And I have one question on finance. Do you do anything in terms of access to finance to the companies that you are supporting in the ecosystem?
Yes, all the services have funds or grant or finance. But we have in the technological transformation and disruption, we have finance services, but unfortunately, we don't have direct financial for companies. But we help companies to find different sources. For example, we have a service to for basically for startups, but not only. To help to find, for example, public or private fundings. No, could be from the minister, could be from Europe, could be private, no, venture capital, joint venture, different business angels, different services. But it's not a direct services we offer. So it's like, because unfortunately we don't have enough money to help all the companies.
Do that? Do you have, for example, a process that you establish at ACCIÓ for all the companies you have in Catalonia, within the international program?
Yes. It's an open services. It's true that we try to focus on the strategy of the company in terms of, for example, about innovation. There are a lot of funds, there are a lot of grants, but you have to have a structure, you know, for the project, because 15 years ago there were a lot of money for projects. Now it's different, and we have to select, no, which projects are in each area, no.
About exactly the cultural creative industries.
Yes, about culture and creative, I want to say, because maybe some colleagues could be, that we have, Government of Catalonia have another agency that it's ETHEC, that it's the culture department. We are completely connect, and about these companies, we give exactly the same services because we are absolutely cross-sectorial. So we help food industry, culture and creative industry, or health. So all these services I have explained are for all sectors.
Very much. I think this was
Thanks to
very
you.
interesting experience here in Catalonia, and I think could be also used over in other countries. Yes, okay, Mohammed, he has.
Okay, thank you, Albert. I have one question actually regarding the offices in Africa. I didn't see the office in Egypt. So did the office serve a certain geographical area, or we can apply, or we can direct our startups to go and get the services of whatever actually the place they can have for. So do we have a certain coverage area in Africa, like Egypt? How can I apply?
Well, companies, as I said, they have they work for three pillars, no? Because they are working for innovation programs, foreign investment, and then business strategy. International business. That it's the biggest one. So if you want contact with our agencies, for example, in Africa we have 4 agencies. They cover almost all. It's difficult to say all, no, but they are not focused just on the city or in the country, no. To contact them, for example, if you have a program or you have a need, if you are a Catalan company, it's easy because we have more or less, no, all the ecosystem. But if you are a foreign company, and if you want to contact them to invest in Catalonia, they are open, and they normally use some partners like another public agencies or another foreign offices from other countries, and you can contact them to do business in Catalonia. But they are focused to do business in Catalonia when it's not a Catalan company, no.
Thank you very much, Albert,
Thanks to
for
you.
this presentation. Let me move to, again, Jonàs, Jonàs Sala. Jonàs is the co-founder and partner of Verkami. So he has a PhD in physics, and he founded Verkami, which is a reference crowdfunding platform for independent creators, the largest in South Europe. So this idea came about in 2010 in Barcelona, in Mataró, not far from Barcelona. It's actually, what, 20, 30 kilometers from here. Mm-hmm. And it's really based on the passion for creativity, arts, and knowledge of father and 2 sons. So it's a family business. So please, Jonàs, tell us your experience and how this experience could be probably replicated in the Mediterranean. And of course, if you can talk a bit about crowdfunding. I don't know what is the knowledge on crowdfunding here.
Okay, so good morning, I'm Jonàs. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for inviting us. I'm one of the co-founders of Verkami that started in 2010. And as Hannah was saying, we are trying to remove barriers. No, we don't now with crowdfunding, no, which means like that we offer our tool so that creators can raise money for their projects, thanks to the contributions of their fans and people that loves their creation. No? So now you don't have to, or you don't need to be very famous to publish something. You just need a small community that supports you. No? That's really the revolution that crowdfunding has started. So just to explain a little bit how a crowdfunding campaign works for creative projects. In our case, we work with reward crowdfunding. That's a project we have now live in our platform. It's a movie about the painter Dalí, and they are finishing all the stages of producing this film, and now they need some money to finish the film, the post-production and the distribution, etc. They need this 15,000 euros to finish the movie, as I was saying, and just screening it on cinemas, etc. So they have started this campaign in Verkami, and they have some time to raise this money, this 15,000 euros. Usually in crowdfunding, you have like from 40 to 60 days in order to raise this money. So it's a finite campaign. No? You have only these days to raise this money. And how do you raise this money? You offer some rewards in exchange of the contribution. So in the case of this movie, they are offering, for example, the DVDs or a signed poster or access to the premiere of the movie, etc. No? So you offer some rewards related to the project you are getting funds from. And so usually, yeah, it's like a pre-sale of the product, of the cultural product you are going to publish or to make real. So it's a pre-sale, and with this money you raise from the pre-sale, you can make it happen. So yeah, so you have this time to raise this money. What happens if you don't reach the goal? If you don't reach the goal, we work with all or nothing. Yeah, with all or nothing. No? So you have to raise these 15,000 euros in this case. Otherwise, nothing is charged to the backers, to the people who have contributed. Nothing is charged to the authors, no? So the people promoting this campaign. And why do we work this way? It's because it's a security for both parts. For the authors, they don't have to make a project with less money than what they really need. And for the backers, the people that has contributed some money, it's a security that they will receive what they have been promised, because the author will have enough money to make in this case, the movie, and they will have the screening, the tickets, the DVDs, etc. So we charge, or usually, the crowdfunding platforms, they charge some percentage of the money raised. And in our case, it's only for the projects that successfully raised the money they are asking for. So in this case, if they raise these 15,000 euros, they will be charged like a 5% of all the money raised. And the author will receive the money in order to make this movie happen. If they don't reach the goal in these certain days, then nothing is charged to anyone, and starting a project is free. So it's crowdfunding is as well a good tool to see if a project can succeed, or to test a project in this case, because you are not charged if the project is not successful. So you can test if something the people might like it or not. So this can work for all the creative industries, from art, music, publications, comic, films, as I was saying, board games, design products, science and technology, food. This model is working already, is working very well for all the creative industries in the more wide sense of the word. And what has happened in these 12 years that we have been helping these cultural industries and creators, we funded more than 10,000 projects successfully. Then they have raised altogether some 54 million euros. And this has been thanks to 1.5 million backers, which is something incredible, that so many people has supported all these projects of people that they didn't know mostly. and they have support these creators in order to receive sometime in the future the reward they have pledged for. And this 75% success rate, it's because, as I was telling at the beginning, not all the projects reach the goal that they are looking for. But in our case, it's 3 out of 4 that they are raising the amount of money that they needed. And that's because we help the creators in all the process, in order to set up their campaign with very well, so that it's gonna work well when they are live raising money. So just a couple more examples of crowdfunding campaigns, so you can have a feeling of what can be done. This, for example, an author doing some comics. So he needed money to publish this comic book, and in this case, he was raising money through a crowdfunding campaign, and he was really successful in this case. So what it's very important as well is that once you have your campaign live, it's that you have to communicate to your community, to your fans, to the people that is loving what you are doing, that you have your campaign live, and they can support you. They can buy this comic book in advance in this case, so they are helping you to have the money to publish it. Otherwise, maybe you wouldn't be able to publish this book, but with the help of your community, you are making something happen. And another example for you is this design project for doing a backpack for women, specially designed for women with breast cancer. And in this case, the idea is the same. They had this design, they have this idea, they were ready to start producing it, but they needed some money in order to start the production, to have the first units, and then to sell them in shops and anywhere else, like a normal product. So they started this campaign to get support with these pre-sales in order to have this first production, and as well to test the market. As I was saying before, you can test different designs, for example, and see which design people likes the most. So then you can adjust the following production in order based in the response that you've had in the campaign. So to summarize, what's the revolution of crowdfunding? That now, with a few backers, you can produce more units. So in the case of the comic book, for example, with 200 backers, you can produce, for example, 500 or 1,000 units of this comic book. And then after the campaign, after you send all the rewards to the backers, you will have like 800 units, for example, that you can sell in stores or online. And then the authors can get the profit out of this excedent of units that they have produced. So it's not only to raise the money to production, but then you can have a profit out of these campaigns as well. All costs are already covered because you set your goal in order to cover all the basic costs of your production. So then you reduce the risk of producing any cultural product very, very much, because after the campaign you have everything covered. Anything you sell after the campaign is already a profit for the author. And then, as I was saying, it's a good tool as well to test the market for new products, for example, reducing the risk very much. Instead of investing your own money, for example, and then the product not succeeding, you can test it before investing. And another important idea is that it's not only a one-time thing. It's something that it can be used recurrently to fund your different projects. For example, this is an illustrator from Spain, which was doing like 10 projects with us throughout all these years. And he's formed a community around his illustrations, his work, and this community is supporting her all throughout his career and throughout these different campaigns to fund different kinds of illustration books. So that's a very important thing nowadays. Having a community that supports you. It's everything nowadays for a creator, and crowdfunding helps you, bring this community together for a common goal, which is making these creative products happen. So crowdfunding can help you raise money to produce your works, but not only this, it can create new communities of people that get together to make something happen. It strengthens the ties with your existing community, because people have the feeling that they are helping you to make your project happen, and they feel part of the project, and that it's something very special for them. When you receive the book out of the campaign, it's not the same that buying it on the store, because you have helped the creator to, throughout this whole process, you've seen the project getting to the goal, etc. So the experience when you read this book is different than when you buy it on the store, for example. And it can be as well a recurrent tool, as I was saying, for a creator in order to live from his creations. So that would be this. That would be all for the moment. Thank you very much.
Jonàs, congratulations for this very, I would say, very nice platform. And at the same time, really, it's helping and making impact. Now, I have a few questions. One, what are the prerequisites for, if you can put back the Zoom screen, please. What are the prerequisites to set up such a platform? Of course, you have done it for here in Barcelona. So what are the prerequisites? So if you would like to give recommendations to other countries, particularly not EU countries, because I understand that your platform is also eligible to other artists that are not simply or only located in Catalonia or Spain, but also in other countries. And I would like, and I'm interested to see what is the percentage of other countries that are, or other projects that are funded via this platform. So this is my second question. In fact, what is the percentage of the other projects in other countries that are eligible to this platform? And my third question is, what is the maximum amount per project that you have been able to raise?
So the maximum amount, I start from the end. It's been like 300,000 euros, more or less. And some projects have raised these amounts. So nowadays, raising like 20,000, 50,000, it's not something uncommon. It's something that it can be done. You have a good campaign, and you have a good promotion, and you have a good project and a big community. We've seen projects raising 10,000, 20,000 euros in one day, for example. So nowadays it's becoming easier because maybe the tool is more known, and people knows crowdfunding as well, or knows our company, for example, and it's easier every year for projects to raise more ambitious goals. Then from other countries, in Verkami, we have maybe 10-15% projects which are from outside Spain and from Europe and maybe some South American countries because of the language, which is common language, for example. And then we are open to any project from any country, and from contributions, to receive contributions from any country as well. We've seen, like in Europe, for example, that every country is having each reference crowdfunding platform. For example, here in Spain is Verkami. In France, they have a couple reference platforms for reward crowdfunding, etc. And for starting a crowdfunding platform, in our case, the most important thing has been how we work with the creators in order to have their campaigns ready and to accompany them throughout all the process. And at the beginning, no, we were starting with just 6 projects, but we helped them very much. They were successful, so they get people to know Verkami, and since we're working well and the projects were being successful, they bring more projects to know crowdfunding, to know Verkami, etc. So in our case, of course, you need to have a very good technological tool, that it's working well and it's responding to the needs of the users. But in our case, knowing the market, knowing how culture works, how consumers, what consumers expect, for example, and helping them to set good campaigns was the most important thing, I believe.
Thank you, Jonàs. There is a question from Wafa from the audience here.
Okay.
I wanted to understand better the business model. You mentioned 5% charge because you said not charge at the end. So actually you've charged 5% on the amount raised, right?
On the amount raised, only if the project is successful. So if you want to raise 5,000, if you raise 5,000 or more, then we charge 5%. Otherwise, if you raise 3,000 and the project ends, then we charge nothing.
Okay, in that case, and when they don't succeed, they don't meet their funding target, the money is returned to the donors or the
Yes.
donor? Okay, so that's the business. Second question, you mentioned accompaniment. So the 5% are only just on the amount raised or including your support for their campaign? Because that's what makes the difference, So do you charge more when you provide that support for campaign or not?
No, it's everything included. I think with the 5%, it's everything included, the support and someone from our team, which is helping you throughout all the process. Yeah.
Okay, that's because I'm saying this because it's really important to related to your question, Reem, about what's the advice and how this kind of tool would work in the global south. So this CFW, this is the kind of thing that we follow, try to test and see what works and what not. The key success of a crowdfunding campaign is the communication campaign. This is why we say a campaign. Just posting your project in a platform like that, it's wasting your time and your energy, and it actually will be just mobilizing your closer circle, which you can mobilize without a platform. It's going to be like 10 or 15%. What makes it, why it's called the crowd? It's its ability to mobilize resources from people you don't know through a campaign. And that's one thing. So that skill, it's important to know when you launch a campaign when you are from the global south. Second, it depends, as you mentioned, your growth where you are. So when you are just starting and you don't have a community, a crowdfunding campaign might not be the best resource mobilization at that moment of your growth. Later, that would be one of the good tools when you have already a big community. And not all the platform. Why I'm asking Jonah, because in Tunisia, we just approved a crowdfunding law legislation to start. And the thing is, for a very long time, it has been sold like the miracle solution to financing cultural creative industries, which is not true. Given the context in Tunisia at that moment, and it depends the size and the community every entrepreneur has around, it's not a miracle. It depends where you are. And we still function by charity in the individual giving, because that's also about the behavior of the donor. You call them the backer, right? So you need to understand the philanthropy, what motivates people to give as individuals. In our society, in the global south in general, we're still motivated by the charity, not by project. So if you put a project about funding an orphanage, rehabilitating school, do something, it will work. But if you come with a comic book, a creation, it's really much harder. So you will only work with a community that it's educated, that it's fidelisé, how to say? Yeah, so that's really important to understand that tools depends where you are and the type of project. And just be careful when you choose if those charging part of support or not, because it's really important what they give, as including in the package that they help you conduct the campaign. Thank you.
You mentioned that you have projects from Latin America, so I thought you are only countries in Europe are eligible to your crowdfunding platform. So I assume that other countries, even from the Mediterranean South or Global South, could also be eligible.
Yeah, sure.
So what is the selection criteria, or you let everybody to do campaign and you have contract? What is the selection criteria for your choice of projects?
We just are asking that they have a project which is ready to raise funds, no? So it has not a very early stage. You have to be in a position where you know that with this money I will make this happen, no? So that's one of the criteria. And then that it's creative, no? That it's in the creative industries, and that would be the two main criteria. If you fit this criteria, then you have a place in Verkami in order to post your project. And as the colleague was saying, it's very important, this promotion, how you promote your campaign. And with the creative industries, we see it not like you are donating something to the creator. We see more like an exchange. You know, you are exchanging, you are giving your money in advance for something that you would have anyway. You would buy it on the store afterwards, but you are contributing before to the campaign, and thus helping the author to make it happen. So maybe that would be an idea, not to work with these kind of projects from the altruist point of view, but from the cultural exchange or cultural consumer, and to see these projects in this light maybe.
One of the objectives of our project CREACT4MED is to promote access to finance to the creative and cultural players, particularly the companies. And as I don't know if you were with us yesterday, but we are in the process, or we are already granting some sub-grants to new projects, 24 projects in the countries that are eligible to our sub-granting. So I was wondering, listening to you, whether we could envisage a program to see whether we could help some of those projects to access crowdfunding via your platform, and then support them. I think we have still some ideas to put in place, like programs to support those companies to develop a campaign for eligibility, or to be eligible to your crowdfunding platform. Maria, I think this is something that we could do within the next steps of the project. And if you are interested to take this possibility, we could have a meeting and then trying really to see which are of course, the companies that are interested to get into this type of, I would say, opportunity. And then we could, via our educative mechanisms, so I would say the programs that we are developing with EUD or with other partners, to eventually see or have a pilot that might or might not function, but at least we see.
Yeah,
okay,
that would be great.
All right, so please note this in the minutes, so then we can remember that we have to follow up with Jonàs on this.
Sure.
Yeah, again,
I would. I just have a question regarding this point, that whether have you encountered like legal obstacles in terms, because I'm always thinking about obstacles and opportunities and like policy, in terms of policy in some countries, whether you had like some difficulties to give the grants to the people, because I think
no. In our case, it's just a pre-sale, as I was saying. No, you make a comic book, so you are selling the comic book, but just in advance. No, so it's nothing different from anything else. If you are selling books in shops or online, it's the same kind of profit you are having from the traditional selling points. But you are just, as I was saying, you are changing the the steps. No, you are selling it before having it. It's just the only difference, but from the rest is the same as any other sale, as I would say.
I have just one question, and sorry, is it open? Okay, I'm not sure if it was asked, but just about the people participating, do they have to be registered as freelancers or to have a company, or can they be just common people, like a teenager, for example, that is very artistic, just say, I will do this? Do they?
Anyone can post a project, and then the thing is that when you receive the money, you have to pay the taxes to your country, no? And then it's easier maybe if you are a professional or not, but anyway, you can do it, and you can be a professional or not. Then you have to, in each country, no, you would have to pay the taxes corresponding to who you are at the moment. You are
and I understand that you are not providing assistance for that, so it's up to them. It's their responsibility.
Yeah, that thing is very, very difficult, at least in Spain. It's quite difficult because
I know
everyone has to pay the taxes differently with different forms and files and so on. So we provide like general advice, no, but then every case no should be assisted by a professional, you would say.
Okay, thank you very much.
At least the special cases. No?
Perfect. Thank you, Jonàs, for this very interesting presentation. I'll be looking forward to arranging a meeting and continue the discussions. Thanks.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much, Jonàs. I would like to move now to Maral. Maral, she's a deputy director of AFAC, which is the Arab Fund of Art and Culture. She holds a master degree in design, public spaces from Barcelona, from school in Barcelona. And she has been very much working on various cultural projects in Barcelona and also in Armenia, in Beirut. So please, Maral, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello. Thank you. Thanks for everyone for joining. I will start with an introduction about AFAC and then maybe give a bit of context about the arts and culture sector and financing in the Arab region. I'm sorry, I will have to leave right after my presentation because miscalculated the hours, the time difference, and I have another call that I'm already late. But of course, we can take questions and then I will have to leave. So the Arab Fund for Arts and Culture, AFAC, was founded in 2007. It was an initiative by Arab cultural activists, and it was set up as an independent foundation to support individual artists, writers, researchers, intellectuals, and organizations from the Arab region working in the field of arts and culture. Since the launch, our programs have expanded to cover cinema, photography, visual and performing arts, creative and critical writings, music, documentary film, cultural journalism, and research workshops and other cultural events. Our office is based in Beirut, but our work expands through the Arab region and the rest of the world in the diaspora, the Arab diaspora. Our work is divided into 5 strategic areas, providing grants, developing training programs, building and sharing knowledge, broadening the pool of supporters for the arts, and cultivating appreciation for and engagement with contemporary arts and culture productions by connecting them with audiences. Also with grant making, on a yearly basis, we offer up to 200 grants so every year through open calls for applications. So we have 2 cycles for open calls, and people can apply in the different programs. So they know beforehand when the call is coming out. And we have right now we have 9 programs, the ones I mentioned already when I started. How we work is basically everyone can apply, whether residing in the Arab region or in the diaspora, and we have every year for each program there is a new jury that we put together. We bring together. They're experts from the culture, arts and culture sector, or from that specific category that they're reviewing, they're evaluating. So this creates a kind of, if you want, a curation of projects, because year the jury members are different, so they come with their own experiences, they share their own contexts. Second strand of our work is training and mentorship. We set up programs that offer training, mentorship programs to develop basic skills and practices. First, we have the Arts and Culture Entrepreneurship Program and the Arab Documentary Photography programs that basically were set up as a response to different gaps or lacks in expertise that we were seeing through our applications, through the applications that we were receiving. So what happens is that we have a very big pool of applications, and through a data analysis of every year's applications that we receive, we can detect, or even the projects that we report, we can detect what kind of expertise, what kind of skills are missing in the region. So the Arab Documentary Photography Program was, for example, an answer to this skill that we were receiving visual art projects, but we saw that there isn't enough. We are not receiving documentary photography projects. So we set up with the Magnum Foundation and the Prince Claus Fund. So the third strand would be knowledge building and sharing. Like I said, our database includes more than 16,000, 17,000 applications. And right now we have, I think, above 2,000 projects that we have funded over the last 15 years. And this makes it a considerable source of information on cultural trends, of artistic production, social impact, geographic context, and a lot of other statistics that could help anyone interested or any public sector with insights, with information to build upon for other grant making teams. A lot of times we are approached by different organizations, different institutions that are funding projects in the Arab region to give them data about what's happening and what's needed in the Arab region. We are also committed to strengthening philanthropy for the arts, as it's a topic that's very interesting, especially in the Arab region, because a lot of our funding comes from outside of the Arab region, and especially right now with other priorities for other agendas for the different governments that we receive funds. We are acknowledging the importance of having and raising awareness within the Arab region itself. And lastly, building audiences. I mean, what we want to do is to cultivate appreciation for and engagement with arts and culture production to reinforce the transformational power of creative expression. So there's three principles that we work with mainly is autonomy. We diversify our funding sources so that we have autonomy to work towards realizing our vision, because we're very aware of think if you have one source of funding, then you are bound to a certain agenda. You might be bound to a certain agenda, and we always look for diversification in our funding resources so that we have this, the autonomy to see what's needed really, and to study what are the challenges on the ground, and to create programs that answer to these challenges. The second point would be transparency. So at every stage of our work, beginning from the grants application forms, which are accessible to and open to all, so anyone can apply. There is no age limit. There is no. So you have to be. I mean, it's a funding mechanism for the Arab region. So apart that, there is no other limitations. Anyone can apply, and up until to the selection process itself. Like I said before, the responsibility of a committee of jurors that annually are selected. And the third value would be dynamism, that we carry out periodic evaluations of our work, taking into consideration the discussions that we have with our jurors, the political and social change in the region, and the new creative genres that accompany them, allowing us to be constantly, prepared and to evolve or modify our programs as an answer to what is needed, and not as something that that will make people applicants answer to a certain thematic or to a certain agenda. Now, if we think about the cultural landscape of the Arab region today, we could divide them to three main constituents. On the one hand, we have countries such as Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria, where public funding for cultural activities funding for cultural activities, and as a result, a dynamic and substantial local production, different disciplines such as performing arts, music, and cinema. And on the other hand, we have the Gulf countries where a new wave of financial investments is being injected into the cultural sector, resulting in a rapidly evolving scene, attracting talents regionally and internationally. And finally, the last pool would be includes countries such as Lebanon, Palestine, and Egypt that represent a historic cultural legacy that has recently been in an incredibly precarious position due to a lack of state funds and its investments and different kinds of crisis in general. In countries of the Arab region with a history of organized and functioning state systems, there has been a relatively stable growth of locally produced cultural content, partly thanks to the adoption of favorable cultural policies by local ministries of cultural affairs. In Tunisia, for example, following the change of regime in 2011, several initiatives in cultural registration instituted, contributing to strengthening of cultural affairs in public life. The national budget allocated to culture saw a slow increase with the adoption of new funding mechanisms and tax incentives and the promotion of public-private partnerships. Interministerial dialogue was strengthened, leading to the design of an action plan to increase the availability of cultural education in all of formal education. Now, that might be something that changed over the course of years, but what I want to say here is that there has been historic foundations for. There is ministries of culture that were actually functional, whereas in other parts, like in Lebanon or Egypt or Palestine, that infrastructure doesn't even exist. In Morocco, for example, the National Sustainable Development Strategy from 2015 to 2020 aimed to promote culture as a lever for change towards sustainable society, and I quote, placing the cultural sector at the center of the national strategy adopted by the country and increasing, therefore, resources allocated to cultural actions. On the other hand, over the last decades, the region has witnessed a renewed growth of arts and culture initiatives, with an increasing number of Gulf countries investing more and more in arts and culture ventures such as museums, art fairs, and film festivals, acknowledging them as powerful engines for the diversification of industries and economy. Now, the magnitude of these investments in arts and culture manifested through various ventures initiated by local governments such as the Red Sea Festival in Jeddah, Sirkal Avenue in Dubai, Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. And this is a testament to state-mandated objective with a commercial market diversity to compete with an international market. With funding becoming more scarce in other parts of the world, especially to the pandemic, the Gulf states have maintained a strong policy in financing specific modes of production, mainly in contemporary art and more recently in cinema. As the surrounding region is marred by corruption and geopolitical turbulence, the Gulf states have remained stable and wealthy centers for the developed culture-centric investment ventures, shaping the future of the creative industries in the region. Now, this change of dynamics has opened up a new market, obviously, for professionals in the arts and culture sector, but it's very important to counterbalance it for fairer distribution of wealth and to diversify what could become a singular mode of cultural production, because when we're investing in one place with a very focused agenda, then we lose the diversification and in terms of representation, geographies, different contexts, and even different types of art and culture production.
Yeah.
I don't know if,
Yes.
Reem,
Yeah,
if
I think
yeah.
we need to wrap it up a bit because
Okay.
then I give some
Okay.
opportunities to some questions.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll just make like very short. So I would end with this basically, that with policies that are like these kind of policies that are absent in other countries such as Lebanon, Egypt, and Palestine. The arts and culture communities rely only on limited grants by local or international, private and government institutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Tell
thank
me.
you very much, Maral. I think we know very much what are the difficulties in this region to access certain funds. I don't know if you've been with us yesterday, but we have launched an observatory, and all the information on all single country is available on our website, and we will continue updating. So if you have any information that are not taken into account by our observatory, please contact Yagane. She's
Sure.
leading this initiative. And then possibly also within the same working group that we will put in place on part of the programming to support the companies to access funding. You can also, we will invite you to be part of this working group and see how the Arab Fund of Art and Culture could be connected to our endeavors and support the companies that we have selected for this pilot of CREACT4MED. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions for Maral. Okay, all clear, Maral. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, next speaker is Jasmine Busson. Jasmine, she's a managing partner and founder of Globivest. She has several years of experience in the investment industry. So we're going now to another industry, which in fact very interesting because it finds, or you try to find the coherence between capital return and impact. And I think this is now the new trend of impact investment funds. Of course, you need to invest on projects that are viable, companies that are viable, but at the same time having impact. And in any case, you will have to do it because you will need to disclose the ESG risk, so ESG. And this is really also from a regulatory perspective, this is going to be a push for all the funds to show what is the impact on social, environment, and governance. So this will practically accelerate this type of impact investment funds for globally and particularly for the MENA. So your fund is active in MENA. So please, Jasmine, please tell us what you do and who is eligible to your funding.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine. It's a pleasure to be participating in this talk today. So I'm the managing partner of Globivest, a woman-led VC fund based out of Lebanon. And we started at Globivest deploying capital in early stage companies in 2016, focusing on impact in fintech and SaaS-driven companies tackling environmental and societal issues, and health tech and biotech. So impact in general, we're a sector agnostic fund. And if I want to start this conversation, I think it's important to talk a bit about me. For a queer woman who grew up in Lebanon, the word impact, that is often used like an umbrella term, refers to something very specific, I would say, and personal to me. So if I can summarize impact in 2 points, I would say, first of all, it is supporting underrepresented founders and underaddressed markets. And 2, it's really trying to build models that break the myth that opposes capital returns to impact-driven models. Because the path to sustainability, in my opinion, is our best bet against the challenges we face today. That being said, of course, my understanding of impact keeps on maturing with time. It has to adapt to the dynamic changes of our environment and societies. Carrying the responsibility of being the managing partner of a VC fund based out of Lebanon constantly helps me identify and understand the matters that are most pressing and most importantly to support projects that are essential to the region. So sustainable models are particularly hard to build in the cultural and creative space. And this is something that we will probably tackle later in the session today. Sorry, I'm a bit sick. At Globivest, we are proud to count in our portfolio few companies that fall in this criteria. I would briefly like to introduce Al Hayya and Podeo that are disruptive in their own way. So Al Hayya is a biannual magazine co-founded by 5 engaged and brilliant women. Against them, there is Miriam Boulos, photographer at Magnum, Maya Mumne, co-founder of Journal and Studio Safar, and Al Hayya publishes literary and visual content on the works and interests of women connected to the MENA region. It's a bilingual magazine in Arabic and English, and it creates and documents feminist culture and action through an editorial collective committed to highlighting anti-racist, transnational, and queer perspectives. By embracing the multiple and shifting identities of feminist communities, the magazine seeks to explore, challenge, and confront issues of representation and diversity. It basically raises questions about cultural conditioning and the ambivalent role of feminists in today's journalism. Another company I would like to talk about is Podeo. Podeo enables local and regional content creation and builds the leading Arabic podcasting platform in the Arab world by developing products designed for creators and listeners through a full audio solution built in-house and a personalized audio player and hosting platform. Now, talking about Al Hayya and Podeo, I believe they both stand as creative and empowering tools to convey messages and push barriers when it comes to the cultural sector. Now, if we take a step back and look at the VC landscape in the MENA region, most of them are managed by men who do not necessarily have the will or the sensitivity to invest in such projects. And so there is a gap that we are looking to fill, a gap for investments in the cultural and creative space, and who's really better positioned to do it than women from the region. Not only women from the region, but women with a VC-focused perspective in order to help companies scale with solid models, innovation, and technology. One thing really that I strive for when assessing and investing in a company is to prove that impact can be achieved through the venture capital perspective. And I really believe, again, growing up in Lebanon and trying to support companies that others would simply do not look at because of the risk factor of having a mix of capital returns, sustainable models, and scaling and really provide the change. I really believe there is so much of undoing and unconditioning we need to work on in order to bring the VC environment really to another level. So really break the myth between capital returns and impact in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jasmine. I have one question. When you, of course, this is a venture capital fund.
Yeah.
So what is the rate of return that you are expecting, and how do you define your return?
That is a tricky question, especially when you talk about impact. And, you know, a few years ago, in the early, I would say in 2017, 18, when people, and especially LPs, were talking about returns, it is simply, I would say, a priority when investing in a VC fund. But of course, you could, you know, throw the 5x, 10x return on your investment. But I truly think that through diversification and building a portfolio where impact meets profit, you are able today to break some barriers and to provide some founders with financial support. So on the one hand, in my position as a manager of a VC fund, I have to keep in the back of my mind the return on investments from the LP perspective, but also it's really important and crucial to change the mentality of supporting founders that have the capacity, ability through their background and expertise, maybe not tackling, you know, I would say, common issues, whether it's fintech or deep tech or AI or ML, but also supporting founders that are a bit more creative or different when going through the entrepreneurship journey. So I would say return is important. And obviously, when you're in that environment, this is something to have in the back of your mind. If not, you would not have this position, but also provide change to LPs and to make them understand that they can also have some capital returns by investing in impact-oriented models.
But you don't have an average rate of return that you can report to us on?
I would say today the TPVI of the fund is around 2.7x. But this is based out of investing in more than 60 companies all around the globe with a focus on emerging markets, so LATAM, MENA region, and some countries in Africa.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to invite Michel Mouracade, who is also an Alfanar Impact Investment Fund advisor. She's still there? Oh, yes, I see her. Yeah. And she has many years of experience on social entrepreneurship, impact investing, strategy, organization, whatever, all of these aspects that are very important for entrepreneurs. It would be great to share your experience and tell us a bit more about the potential for impact investing in the region, particularly for the CCI, creative, cultural and creative industries. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm going to try to be brief because it's a long session, but it's a topic I'm very passionate about, so it's often difficult for me to be brief. Alfanar is the first venture philanthropy organization to have launched in the MENA region 18 years ago. And so over 18 years, we have worked with quite a few cultural and creative social enterprises and other types of organizations in Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, and recently in Palestine. So for us, as was mentioned multiple times before, it is not a healthy thing for an enterprise to be reliant on public funds and international aid and donations. Financial sustainability is the most important thing for any enterprise to be able to continue being creative, to continue growing, to continue operating. Raising a grant for a specific project is not enough. And so this is what I will be talking about today. How can cultural and creative organizations become financially sustainable and even become investment ready? What do we need to do to support them in accessing the financing that is available for financially sustainable cultural and creative industries or companies? So first of all, I would like to say that most cultural and creative organizations are actually social enterprises or have a clear potential to transform into a social enterprise. What do we mean by that? A social enterprise is basically an organization that has a private sector business model. So it has a product and a service that it is selling to customers on the market, but it's doing so to solve a social, cultural, or environmental problem. I'll take the example of Creative Space Beirut. Creative Space Beirut is a social enterprise that Alfanar has been supporting for the past 3 years in collaboration with Drosos Foundation. Their mission is to provide two things. First, they are a tuition-free school for fashion designers with an intensive 3-year curriculum. So it's a program that prioritizes vulnerable individuals who cannot afford to become fashion designers and supports them in becoming fashion designers free of charge. They could have done this through funding, and they got a lot of grant funding, but this is not the way to continue being sustainable and to continue growing. So what they decided to do is to also launch a brand a clothing brand called CSB that is operated as a collaboration. It's a design collaboration between the students, the alumni, and the teachers. And it is sold online. You can go to CSB World online and check their clothing, which are stunning, but also in their flagship store in Beirut. On top of that, they have launched design workshops focused on specific topics where students have to pay to attend. These things are helping them become financially sustainable and be able to subsidize the free school. And this is what a social enterprise is all about. It sounds quite simple, but even though it's quite simple, there is always a lot of confusion, and there are very often, NGOs that are saying they're social enterprises. There's funders that are confused about who is and not a social enterprise. So to clarify a bit more, and the reason actually why there is this confusion is because there is no legal status for social enterprises in any of the MENA region countries. There is in Italy, in the UK, in Spain, there is a legal registration for social enterprises, but in the MENA region, this does not exist. And this creates some confusion. So to clarify a bit more, a social enterprise is basically not a charity. So it should not be heavily reliant on donations. It should be able one day to break even from selling products and services on the market. And it's not, on the other hand, a for-profit company that once in a while supports vulnerable communities or solves a cultural issue. It has to actually be right in the middle, and it has to have an intention to scale and measure their impact. And measuring that impact is really important and is a big challenge in the cultural sector. In the creative sector, it depends, but like in fashion and jewelry, it's more easy to measure the impact. It tends to be more difficult when you touch the more cultural aspects, models. So the criteria to be considered a social enterprise is that the social and cultural mission obviously have to be part of their articles of association. It has to be their mission. They have to aim to be profitable, and usually they reinvest most of their profits into their organization to continue scaling their impact. They monitor, measure, and report on their social impact. And this is really important, not just because it will attract impact investors, but also it's good business. Because studies have shown that 90% of the time when a consumer is faced with a product that has a social impact versus another product that doesn't, 90% of the time they will select the one that has a social impact. And obviously it's also an accountable and transparent organization that has public information available. So why is it important? Why do we believe it's important to transform cultural and creative organizations into financially sustainable social enterprises? As you all know, the poverty rates in the MENA region are extremely worrying. Before the pandemic, globally, the % of the world's population was living below the poverty line. But in the Arab countries, in most of the Arab countries, it's around 16 to 49% of the population that is living below the poverty line. So there is a lot of international aid and NGO support coming to the region, but it's not sustainable because there's too many organizations that are fighting for grants and there's too little grants coming. And despite these grants that are coming, it's not improving things. The MENA region, since 2014, the poverty rate has been consistently increasing no matter what is being done. So this means that organizations cannot rely on donor funding. It will run out. And as was mentioned before, it's very difficult to access, especially in the cultural and creative sector. Another point that is really important is that social entrepreneurship, the sector, actually creates jobs and helps in boosting the economy. And all the studies have shown that the cultural and creative organizations are creating a lot of jobs and contribute significantly to the GDP of an economy. And we should leverage this argument in helping organizations become enterprises and helping them access funding because they are creating jobs. And most of the time, investors want to invest to create jobs. And because jobs are created, it means as well that there's going to be more products and services sold and more revenue, and thus more returns for investors. Another very important point is that the impact investment market in the MENA region is still in its infancy. Globally, the impact investment market is a $1.164 trillion market. This means that there's impact investors around the world that are putting money into social enterprises. But in the MENA region, less than 1% is coming to the region. Why? Simply because there aren't enough investment-ready social enterprises, and there aren't any or very few impact funds that are supporting these social enterprises. So how do we help a cultural or creative organization transform into a sustainable social enterprise? I'm going to go very quickly over that because I think it's too much detail and we want to get a bit more into the financing that is available. So usually Alfanar, when we work with entrepreneurs, we don't just provide them with grant funding, we also provide them with management support and training. And one of the things that we do with organizations to make them more sustainable is first, we help them clarify their theory of change, what problem they're addressing, and what is their vision for the future down the line. Once this is clarified, they need to decide what is the product and service that they want to sell on the market, and how does that fit within their theory of change? What is the model that they will have within their social enterprise? Is it a lockstep model where for every product or service that is sold, there is a social impact behind it or a cultural impact behind it? Or is it a trade-off model where we either sell products and services and generate a return or spend more time on having a social and cultural impact? Or is it just a simple profit-generating model and some of the profits are committed to go into NGOs or cultural activities that are available for vulnerable communities? So this is an important point in designing the business model of the social enterprise. How do they want to integrate both their impact and their business model? And then we work with them on developing a business model canvas. Ideally, we prefer for them to also have a 3-year business plan, but this takes much longer for us to help them develop this. And then we advise them on how to adjust their governance, their organizational structures, their cash flow projections and financial planning. And we help them raise funds and receive more management support. One thing that is especially important is culture change. And access to markets obviously is very important, but culture change within an enterprise, I cannot stress how important it is. This is our biggest lesson learned over the last 18 years. If the management team does not want to be financially sustainable and to be running a profitable organization, then it will not happen. If they don't have the aggressiveness and the ambition to go out there and to find clients and to sell products and services and to generate more income and are not on top of their financials, then this initiative will die one day. It is very difficult to be only spent on grants and on fundraising for projects. They have to have a cultural mindset, just like any entrepreneur focused on generating income. So today, what forms of financing are available for social enterprises in the MENA region and beyond, actually? But here, the mapping that I provide here of our peers is focused on the MENA region. As you can see on the left-hand side, for organizations that are still at the early stage and at the seed stage, there are a lot of programs. These programs are competitions, accelerator programs, they're providing grants, they're providing mentorship training, there's a ton of them. But really the grants are never more than $5,000, so it doesn't help organization go very far. Then there's microcredit loans that are available, but interest rates are usually very high. So entrepreneurs hesitate a lot to get a micro loan. And then at the growth stage, there are organizations like Alfanar and other often donor-funded programs where they can receive more financing, more grants over multiple years, and ideally become investment ready by growing their income. they one day reach the level of their investment ready. And this is when we would like them to be attracting impact investors. But if you look at the chart, most of the organizations and the funds that are on the right-hand side and that are providing investing in social enterprises are investing in investing in enterprises that are either tech startups or SMEs. There are very, very few that are investing in social enterprises. In Lebanon, there's Fondation Diane, which is investing in green enterprises. And in Egypt, there's Catalyst Partners, which is investing in social enterprises as well. We haven't found any other fund that is exclusively focused on social enterprises. There are obviously funds like Globivest, that Jasmine has mentioned, that do like to invest in social enterprises. There's Amam Ventures in Jordan that focus on investing in women-led ventures. But a fund that is exclusively focused on social enterprises, there aren't enough of them. And this is why we are looking to launch Lift Ventures, which is actually a regional impact investment fund. And we are aiming to encourage investors to invest in our fund so that we can demonstrate the potential of these social enterprises to generate returns for investors so that we can attract more and more funding to the region. So very quickly as well, I will just tell you what Alfanar is as a venture philanthropy organization, how do we operate, what do we do, and then what our impact fund will be doing. Basically, as a venture philanthropy organization, our mission is threefold. We provide financing. It's customized financing, mostly grants and zero interest loans, but for long periods of time, for 4 to 5 years. And we do it only for social enterprises that have a measurable and scalable social impact. We provide that along with management support, training, access to networks and export markets. We take them on market exploration trips, etc. And we help them impact management, how to measure their data. We help them put in place a digital impact dashboard, etc. However, for us to be able to finance these organizations, we need to raise funds ourselves. And this is a very big challenge. And this is why Alfanar so far, even though we've done it for 18 years, we've only been able to support 48 social enterprises. But these 48 social enterprises were all supported for periods of 4 to 5 years with around $100,000 of grants per year. And they were able to impact more than 180,000 lives across the region. And since 2015, 52% of our portfolio broke even. And 61% of the portfolio is women-led, which is also something very important to note. What is impact investing and our fund, Lift Ventures? So impact investing is not ESG investing. ESG investing usually is just assessing whether an organization is having a positive or actually no negative impact on the environment, on society, and on and has an accountable and clear governance in place. This is ESG investing, and most funds now will not invest in an organization before taking it through an ESG assessment and ensuring that they are applying ESG best practices. Impact investing is different. An impact investment fund has the intention to maximize positive and measurable social and environmental impact. So it will be focused on certain SDGs and on certain KPIs, and it will only select the organizations that are having an impact related to these SDGs. So our fund, Lift Ventures, for example, will be focused on poverty alleviation through decent work and economic growth, gender equality, quality education, reduced inequalities, and responsible consumption and production. So we will be looking for organizations that are providing jobs and income opportunities for vulnerable individuals and that can scale that impact, that are also integrating micro enterprises into their supply chain, encouraging better use of resources and circularity. In the fashion sector, for example, there are a lot of incredible organizations such as Fabricate that are collecting secondhand clothes, upcycling them, selling them at very low cost to vulnerable communities. So we will be looking at such impact and at ensuring that it's scalable. However, at the same time, we need to be providing a return to investors. Otherwise, we will not be able to launch our fund. So we are promising a 15% return to investors. And from the analysis that we've done, the case studies we've looked at, and the pipeline of organizations we're speaking to, we believe that it is entirely feasible. We believe, more importantly, that it's important to launch this fund.
Michelle,
Yes.
one question. Return on investment on the USD, on which currency?
So the fund will be a USD fund, but then when we invest in an organization, we will, depending on the country, we may invest in local currency. But
For the foreign, how do you hedge for the foreign exchange risk?
There are ways to do that.
Okay.
It's part of what the fund management team will be doing. It's not different than what any other venture capital firm does. The difference is that we are also focused on impact. So we are also providing impact management support to these investees. We will also be providing them with a technical assistance budget that will help them with grants, access consultancies, help in exporting their products or services, etc. I will conclude with one thing. For us, it is super important to support the investment readiness of organization in the cultural and creative sector, and to push them away from grants and towards revenue generating products and services so they can become financially sustainable, profitable, attract impact investors so that we can demonstrate that it's interesting to invest in them and that we have to attract all these investors to the MENA region. We hope that Lift Ventures will only be the first fund and that very soon afterwards there will be multiple other impact funds that are only focused on impact investing.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Very interesting presentation. And I see a couple of hands raised. So please make it short because we need to close at 1:30 maximum and we still have one speaker.
Thank you, Michelle, for the presentation. You mentioned before that you have like financial services that you provided to the entrepreneur. You mentioned the loans. I would like to ask if there is a high interest rate. Why it's a high interest rate? It's risky, or there is some guarantee for the entrepreneur or not? And how to encourage them to take these loans if there is a high interest rate?
We don't provide microloans. I was just in the mapping, I showed all the players and what financing they can access, entrepreneurs can access. And so I said one of the financing that they can access is microloans. Microloans are small loans that microfinance institutions provide, and the interest rates are very high because it's usually extremely high risk. And this is why they give the loans so easily. So for example, there is Al Majmoua is a very well-known microfinance institution. You can Google online for each country microfinance institution, and you will see which ones are the main ones that are supporting entrepreneurs.
Yes, thank you.
Is there another question? Question there, Christine.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for the presentation. So one of the things that you had a discussion earlier about it, and one of the things to create a sustainable way of or using the investment in a sustainable way was to ensure that they are using this investment in creating job opportunities, for example, rather than recruitment. So this was one of the discussions or the layouts that we had before in ensuring that. So what are some layouts that you have put, since you're working now to create a fund for growth stage social startups or social organizations? So what are some layouts that you have put that will ensure that this grant or this fund is spent on something sustainable, and it's going to, you know, as you said, generate income later on rather than being a one-time grant. Thank you.
Okay, so the impact fund is different. It will be investing, but the grants that we provide, the way we ensure that these grants are multiplied and are not just used one-off is that we actually work with them on their business model. So business planning is the solution, and we do not let them spend the money before they develop a business plan where they clarify why are they recruiting, what are they, how are they going to be accessing more clients, what is their go-to-market strategy. They have to have a very clear business plan on how they are going to be using the grant. And usually we encourage the grant to be used to strengthen their organization and to do any CapEx investments that they need to be able to, as you say, to create more jobs and to sustain. So the problem and the mistake that development organizations are doing is that they are funding projects. We should stop funding projects. Funding projects does not work. Funding projects is too short-term and it creates a lot of dependency. You should be funding an enterprise. By funding an enterprise, you are helping them become financially sustainable and become strong enough to generate their own income. So they don't need donors anymore. This is the most important thing.
Thank you, Michelle, for this seemingly clear opinion, but I doubt that we only need to fund enterprises. I think we need also projects to support new enterprises to prosper, and this is what we're trying to do within this CREACT4MED project. Yes, also project, I would say that projects have to be sustainable, financially sustainable, because when you start a project, you also invest into certain areas that you would like them to continue and to develop. So this is also important at a regional level, extremely important. Companies, they are at a local level. Projects should be at a regional level to foster regional cooperation, to foster connection between players and all of that. And this is what we're trying to do also. I mean, obviously the European Commission projects are, targeting this type of regional collaborations, but many other foundations are doing the same. And I think we need to keep both. And I see here Christina with a raised
hand. Yes. Thank you very much, Michelle, for the presentation. Very impressive work. I just want to add about EU's growing commitment to social entrepreneurship as well. We started the first regional project in support of social entrepreneurship called Saphir. It was in the form of small grants to local organizations. This will be augmented next year through a new project with EVPA, which is a Europe-based philanthropy organization focusing on social enterprises in Europe. And they will start a new project in the Southern Mediterranean. And my colleague is also discussing to try to push forward and guarantee within the future guarantee schemes of the EU for the social entrepreneurship. So that the EU will actually give to banks a guarantee in order to give loans to social entrepreneurs, which are very risky. But through this guarantee, there should be more funding available for the SMEs. So I invite you to follow a little bit more what the EU will be doing in this topic. It's going to become big in the MENA in the upcoming years.
Thank you very much, Christina. And this is a good introduction to my friend and colleague Nagla. Bahr Nagla, she's the managing director of the credit guarantee system of Egypt. And we have developed the Euro-Mediterranean Guarantee Network, who Nagla, she's the chairwoman. I think we have talked a lot with Nagla how to support the CCI, the sector, and trying really to enhance the role of local guarantees. And we are also developing a project aligned with what you are saying on social entrepreneurship, which is the co-guarantee. So it's a co-guarantee mechanism together with all the partners of EMGN, the Euro-Mediterranean Guarantee Network, trying really to also access the ESFD plus. So it's really work in progress. So we could learn also on what you are doing on the social entrepreneurship side in terms of the guarantee. So, okay, things are moving, Nagla, and I think we also need to move. So please tell us how things are in Egypt, and then what can we do further for the region, for the Mediterranean.
Yes, thank you, Reem, and thank you, Christine, Maria, and everybody actually of the CREACT4MED, for this interesting session. I have been listening to some of the sessions yesterday and part of today mostly, and inspired with what had been said. And as you said, what Christina just said, and prior to it, actually, all the team of this session, had been saying is just paved the way for me to step in. So I'm not going actually to stress on the importance of the CCIs, on job creation and what we are witnessing, not only in the region, but I think it's all over the world of shifting in jobs. People are leaving certain jobs and moving into more of creative jobs, that are based on certain talent or certain base that they have. So CCI, we see it from a job creation perspective that I believe, I can't remember, Michelle, Joanne, who exactly, was stressing on the concept of job creation. Taking that into consideration, so it is or must be on top of agendas of government. And I'll talk here from the perspective of finance, of course, because once it is on the top on the agenda and on top of these agendas, this is when government attention will be given and facilitating the access to finance that they suffer from. And this is a fact that had been confirmed by what we all listen to, irrelevant of conventional way of finance at the level of banks or non-conventional way when it comes to investment, venture capital, equity, whatever it is. So that's why, you talked about the guarantee. Guarantee appeared in a couple of talks or conversation. So let me quickly talk about who we are. The guarantee schemes. By definition, we are a risk sharing or risk mitigating tool. So we step in to support the financial institutions, banks or non-banks, and kind of incentivize them through covering part of their expected risk with their clients. So the more the cluster, the group, the industry is kind of complex or unknown, or it includes high level of uncertainty, or it has its own characteristics that yet is not understood by the financial institutions, the more the guarantee schemes are needed, to come and support, to enable the financial institution during a certain timing to acquire the needed understanding, build their own financial data, and build their scoring system that will assess the cases coming to them from this industry within elements that are suitable to this industry. CCIs falls perfectly within this group, because yet, as for the financial institutions, they have high level of unfamiliarity with this industry. They have lack of knowledge about it. The intangible values of the assets of the CCIs presents a high risk at the level of the banks, which actually have been resulted in difficulty for this segment, to access finance at a favorable condition. Add to this even, the nature of finance that this segment is tackling, no matter, as we said, the conventional finance, or we talk about bridging finance, or we talk about project finance, or we talk about investment finance or asset-based finance. No matter what kind of finance, this segment is tackling, it's based on an aspect that is still not too much unknown to the banks and classified again as a high risk. So when it comes to project finance, it's based on revenue, at the same time as a source of payment. And this revenue is considering, the little understanding of this group and segment, they cannot assess, the kind of the reality of these revenues. If we talk about bridge finance, as in fashion or films or whatever it is, it's a loan bridging, and having a loan bridging finance, which is actually funding the gap resulting from the cash flow. So to look at the cash flow of this segment, when I don't know it very well, and I classify it as a high risky, and most of their assets are intangible, and you find financial institutions are stuck. You know, how are we going to assess this request for finance, even with the conventional way that is based on asset base or collateral, you know, and we have here intangible collateral. No, add to this, when we go to investment, you know, how are we going to? So there are lots of complexity when it comes to finance to this sector, where what we can do as guarantee, as we said, we're a risk share, risk mitigation. So what's expected from us and what we do, actually, it's not only expected, we step with all those financial institutions, name it equity, name it banks, name it whoever, and we go with them hand in hand. We play with the coverage, when there is a higher risk and more risky component with less information available and all characteristics that we talk about, we increase our coverage to enable the financial institution to step in. And by time, as we said together, we will gain and build our database and information base about this group, so we can actually work with them and in a more easier way. Again, we definitely, all of us, you know, and we enable banks to do that. We start by ourselves, where we apply a certain scoring system and risk measure system that is suitable to the nature of this industry. So we don't take the measure of the normal credit risk assessment factors. We go more into behavioral scoring more than credit scoring. And actually, with it, while we're doing all of this, as I said, knowing that the sector is new, most of our programs, when it tackles this cluster, we go with kind of technical assistance. The technical assistance that we provide two levels. At the level of the financial institutions that we're working on, where we share with them, as we said, scoring system or any information that we have or analysis that we do about the sector and the sector itself. When it comes to certain risk at that sector, where as part of the whole SMEs, there is another risk that is related to the management itself of these projects or these companies or whatever. So we assist them on understanding how to manage their finance, for example. If you're going to working capital, if you're going to cover or to request finance for your operational, so you need to tackle a working capital. So how to manage a working capital line, how actually to request your capex or finance actually for assets, and how can you do it in a most cheaper and less complex way so you can manage it. So we are still working in ourselves, even inside the guarantee schemes in-house, you know, the systems of the scoring, and actually building the capacity of our team to understand this sector, and we work with some of them there. However, I have to highlight, it is still one of the least sized sectors in our portfolio. It is not yet taking the needed attention to go with and start actually or expand our support to it, taking into consideration the shift of the role of this segment. Quite recently, after COVID and other, we're seeing lots of people shifting into these creative areas. So I'm saying we're still actually dealing with in a very small portion. And why? Because I will support what Reem was saying, despite the fact I fully support the concept of the financial sustainability and the going actually or ensuring, you know, that the business can run with the whole market-based dynamics. But at the beginning, and when we have a sector that is still, we suffer with the banks actually to convince them financing this sector. So, and we have to increase our coverage to reach sometimes to 80 and 90 to convince them and lower even our fees. Doing that, actually, it will hit us in our financial statements. So you need definitely the support of government or a region support until you build the confidence of the segment and the sector with the financial market. Because when you show them success stories, when those people are properly financed with a properly structured finance, they are capable of achieving and delivering and continuing. This is when everybody will be going with them at a lower and favorable conditions. So in brief, we're working with them, but moderately. Would love to increase our size of support to this sector, and we are trying to attract at the beginning the needed funds, to enable us building this at a level of Egypt or regionally, as we were talking, as Reem was talking about, under the EMGN, or even the MENA region at large. So this is in brief, what we can do and the challenges that this sector is meeting with the financial sector and how we can assist. And we are assisting, but as I said, moderately. I hope that I covered most of the responses to what had been said earlier.
Thank you very much, Nagla, very clear. And I think there is a long way to go to make sure that the role of guarantees is also mainstreamed in the financial sector beyond physical collateral. Of course, this is going to be a difficult path for our region because of the macroeconomic tensions and problems that our countries are facing, particularly with the post-COVID period. But I think with the collaboration of the EU and all the work that is being done for development policy in the Mediterranean and Africa, we could eventually try to reduce as much as possible the costs for financing or access to finance to the small companies and entrepreneurs, particularly in this sector that is, as you said, it's quite innovative, but at the same time, we need to make sure that it's mainstreamed based on the matrix that we know. Maybe we have to change our matrix and try to also put more value to the intangibles. And maybe there will be a market for intangibles, which we still don't have. And I think this is all the role of research and how to value intangibles and make a value out of it. And I think this is something I've been working on the research side with my colleagues in EMEA, but we still need to do with all the researchers globally more work on that. So thank you very much for the panelists. This has been a very dense, rich panel. I think there is a lot to be done in the region in terms of access to finance, but and also to grants, to philanthropy. I think we need to develop much more those program collaborations between the actors to ensure that all the entrepreneurs, not only in different sectors, but also in this CCI, are benefiting from what everybody is offering. And I mentioned to Maria that we should have a working group between the participant of this session and then connect them to the group of incubators and companies that we have selected for the sub-grant to see how we can support them at a later stage for also ensuring the financial sustainability of them, something that Michelle mentioned, and I totally agree with her. Financial sustainability, not only for the companies, but also for the projects. And this is, I want to emphasize that. And there are many projects that are really doing very great work for entrepreneurship in the region, and they should be, and they continue to be supported, and also to develop new mechanisms for financial sustainability. So thank you very much all for this very inspiring and very rich discussion. And I would like now to close this day. Well, actually, it's the day we're closing the day, but you still have work to do from 3 o'clock to 6, and then we will have the networking cocktails from 6 to 8. So there will be a Creative Hub meet up face to face this afternoon. So all the incubators, whoever is joining us these 2 days, will be part of this. So I think we Teo wants to say something.
Are there anything going on in any of the sector, whether it's creative sector or not, that is using psychographic profiling, measuring social capital as well as operational efficiencies on the front end as a different algorithm for understanding who might be at risk differently than the way we may have thought about it in the past? I know, like in Colorado with the Small Business Resiliency Index, we did the Hope, Trust, and Belonging scores explain more of the variance of which small businesses were resilient and successful in navigating COVID than did even factors like access to capital and operational efficiencies that McKinsey, who is also a partner in the work with us, was pushing forward. And we're beginning to also add quantitative assessments of creativity and curiosity and other aspects like that with another state now to run a randomized control trial to see if we can maybe develop a different risk profile using these new metrics and run some tests to see if that might lead to investing in those who might not be looked at as good risk in other situations. Is there anything like that going on that you all can think of?
We talked about it, not to our knowledge, and this is why we would like to set up a research group on this together with you. See, first of all, if there is any data for our region specific aspect. As I said to you, for the CREACT4MED, we're trying to develop this open access observatory on all the data possible that we can collect. Yagane, close to you, she is leading this initiative under CREACT. We could have a meeting tomorrow and then work a little bit on what can be done for this index, SME index resilience, and try to see what is the data that could be developed also. Of course, this has to be part of another project because the projects, they are all having their own specificities, but yes, we can launch it as an EMEA endeavor to support what is being done for the CREACT and for any other project that other would be interested in. So yes, that's why for us it's a great opportunity because all these projects allows us to think a bit more in terms of science and research and trying to enhance knowledge, the data collection and open access information to all the players. And I also forgot to mention, and you forgot to mention, Maria, also the platform. We have developed a platform, a peer-to-peer platform for all the players in the CCI sector to register for the moment. And then later on, our, I would say, ambition is to have a marketplace for all for all the players in the CCI. So we still have to work on it with your collaboration, and this is what we call the digital CCI hub, which in fact it's our ambition for this project, and it will also help us in the future to achieve certain financial sustainability and sustainability in general. So this is also our approach for this CREACT, is to be sustainable in the different perspective, mainly financial and also institutional. So with this, I would like to close this annual conference, but again, you still have the afternoon. There will be a closing, networking lunch at 1:30. So after my closing speech, so I'm not going to say much. And I would like, first of all, to thank all the team for this really great, impressive work with all the partners, EMEA, MedWaves, Slovenia, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and all the partners who have been really committed during this journey. The journey is not over. We are just in the middle, beginning. So I look at also, I would like to thank Christina for coming from Brussels to be with us. We will continue working all together to ensure there is an ecosystem for the CCI at Mediterranean level. And I think we have a great potential. And I think we are going to unleash the potential, further potential, in collaboration also with other disciplines. I think we heard a lot about well-being. We heard a lot about also healthy societies. We are working also in collaboration with the Brain Capital Alliance, trying to emphasize the importance of creativity. With M&S, we are going to work a little bit further on all these aspects of social entrepreneurship, impact investing, impact finance in general. And I turn to my colleagues, Yagane, Maria, Kirsty, Christine, to really think further on how we can foster this collaboration between art, culture, creativity, and economic research. This is essential to make the change also in economic policy. And I want to end by something which it came to my mind now. We are hosted in a hospital. Many years, or I don't know, so how many years this place was a hospital? 60. Yeah, but 60, it's one generation. So when you look at how hospitals were designed, I wonder what type of hospitals nowadays we have and what are we going to leave to the future generation in 100 years. So this has been here for 60 years and, you know, it's hosting creative centers and creative endeavors and projects. But this is a hospital, and let's not forget. So there is really art, creativity and culture can be mainstreamed in all economic sectors. And I think this is what we should be looking at. Of course, it might cost more money, but I think we need to have an impact, and we have to have a social impact and a community impact, and also intergenerational impact. So it's not only thinking about this generation, but we have to also leave something for the next and next generations, for also legacy for this generation, but also to bring something new for the next generation, or something that they can remember us for. So good things, hopefully. So thank you very much for your time. And I invite you all for networking lunch.